Hello, my name is Kirsty and welcome back to Upside Down Books, and we are here to do another book haul that should not be happening.
Non più tra I farfalloni amoroso, notte giorno di torno.
So if you missed my last book haul, which was only a month ago, then you won't know that I A, shouldn't be doing a book haul this soon, and B, that I'm on a book buying ban. But as you've seen from the thumbnail, I have a lot of books to show you. It's not as bad as last time though. I'm not over the 30 mark. However, I really do have a few books. As a quick recap, I'm participating in my own self-imposed book buying ban challenge called the 300 TBR, which I am tracking on Instagram, though I am vlogging my experience, and I'm hoping to get like a year's worth of footage, short and sharp, like a progression for you for next year. So that's a slow game that we're playing there. Also, check out my new dinosaur and my new whale. I painted these myself, and I'm very talented. I painted the whole thing just blue and green. Anyway, haven't named them yet, so if you have any name suggestions, please leave them in the comments below, because obviously they're going to need a name. But yeah, so the 300 TBR challenge, where I am not buying any books because I want to get my enormous TBR of all the books on these shelves I haven't read down to 300. Now, I do still want to get it to 300, but as I think I explained in my previous haul, I've slightly changed the way I'm tracking this, and I'm trying to read 60 books of my own before I buy any more. Just because I was at 360, so it would have been 300, but blah 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 blah. Long story short, we're just trying to read as many books as we can before we commit to freewheel book buying again. Someone has previously suggested in the comments that I do a Have I Read It video where I revisit one of my book hauls from last year to do a bit of a shaming activity and see if I've read those books, because I don't think my hit rate would be very high, and I think that'd be great to do. So as soon as I have a content slot, and I am considering upping how many videos I do per week to maybe 2, or every other week I do 2 because uni is finished, so I have more time. So perhaps we will do one of those videos, but for now I seem to be doing a reasonably good job in simply acquiring books and still somehow doing a monthly book haul for you, even though I'm specifically trying not to do this. What is the most impressive thing is the way that I have found loopholes to get around this. So I do have penalties if I break my book buying ban, and only one of the books that I'm showing you today broke my book buying ban, and I'm pretty chuffed about that, so I'll talk about what the penalty was for that. But otherwise, everything else is a loophole gifted to me or has come from a publisher, and I'm reviewing it. Without further ado, let's jump on into the book haul. Now, the first books I want to show you are the audiobooks that I have hauled this month. Well, it's since my last book haul. And the first one is The Two Towers, which is the second book in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. So I will be reading this via audiobook, obviously. I read book 1 via audiobook, and I enjoyed the audiobook experience. The book itself I gave 3 out of 5 stars. So, but I am expecting that The Two Towers is going to get better. I really like this world, and I found myself really going back again and again and again to Middle Earth and all of the things that happened. So I've decided to press on and try and keep the momentum up to get through this trilogy so that I will finally be able to say that I've read Lord of the Rings. So that's the first audiobook that I got. The second one is Ice Station by Matthew Riley. Now this was the Audible editor's pick of the month, so the free book each month that you can get and keep. And I have read one book by Matthew Riley previously. I've read The Contest, which is quite a popular one of his, and I'm really, really keen to read all of his books. So when this one came out for free, I thought this was a great chance to dive on in. I like the sound of the narrator, so I'm really hoping that this one is going to tick the boxes for me. This book actually came out in 1998, so I'm really excited to get around to reading this one, and in conjunction with Lord of the Rings, see that little Goodreads statistic where it tells you when it was published versus when it was read. It'll be like a nice little dip down instead of all the 2021 releases I've been reading. So this one is set in Antarctica, and I think it sounds really interesting. So it is around this station, and hence the title, Ice Station, and there is a group of divers exploring the ice shelf beneath the surface, and they disappear. So there is a rescue squad that is sent out to try and find them and figure out what happened. Now the most interesting thing is the final part of the blurb reads like this. First comes a horrific firefight, then comes a plunge into a drowning pool filled with killer whales. Next comes the hard part, as a handful of survivors begin an electrifying, red-hot, non-stop battle of survival across the continent and against wave after wave of elite military assassins who've all come for one thing: a secret buried deep beneath the ice. Like, this sounds like it's going to be so good, so I'm really, really hoping for good things from this one. I have no ebooks to show you. I have managed to restrain myself and not request anything else on NetGalley for once in my life, so we can just dive into the books we've got here. So I have I have things to actually unbox for you. So I have 2 boxes and a package, but we will start with the loose books. First one is from Bloomsbury and it's coming out in January of 2022, and that is How High We Go in the Dark by Sequoia Magamatsu. And this is obviously not a finished edition, this is a advanced copy. I actually don't know what the final cover is going to look like, so I will have to look that up. So this one is described as genre bending and it is set in the aftermath of a great plague and humanity is having to rebuild itself, so it's very on trend at the moment. What is most interesting about this book is it was actually written pre-pandemic, so this is just a pure coinkydink that the author has managed to hit the nail on the head with a very topical theme of plagues, considering that this was all done before COVID was a thing. So I'm looking forward to reading this one, not very long, and again coming out in January of 2022, so keep your eyes peeled for this one on the shelf. The next book I'm so excited about. You have no idea. I've been fangirling at new levels known to mankind, and that is The Beatrice Prophecy by Kate DiCamillo, and I'm sure you were not anticipating that. So this one was sent to me by Walker Books Australia, and I'm so excited because Kate DiCamillo wrote The Tale of Despero. You know the little story about the mouse who's like a nut? Oh my god, I'm so excited about this book. So I saw that this was coming out and I put my hand up straight away and said, yes ma'am, please send me a copy. I would like to read this. I will be reading this so shortly because I love The Tale of Despero, and I'm sure maybe Kate DiCamillo has written other things since then, but none that I'm aware of, so I'm looking forward to this on so many levels. This is about a girl called Beatrice who only knows that her name is Beatrice. She doesn't know who she is or where she's come from. So she's found in a monastery by this brother who finds her in the goat pen curled up with a goat who is quite feared because of its sharp teeth and wily ways, but the goat is Beatrice's protector. The final thing that we know about Beatrice is that she's been hunted by the king's men, so she's gonna need the protection of this little goat here to help her get away and work out what is going on. So this is not long, this is middle grade fiction obviously, but yes, I am excited guys. I am hoping that there will be great things coming out of this novel. I mean, surely Kate DiCamillo is but a queen of writing fantasy. So the next book is the one I broke my book buying ban for, and that was Iona by Alison Goodman. So this one is the sequel to Eon, and I read that a long time ago. The reason I broke my book buying ban for this one is because I saw it in a secondhand bookstore and I kept seeing this book. I read Eon so long ago and it didn't blow my mind. It wasn't my favorite book I've ever read, but I would probably be looking at rereading it and then following on with this one. I met Alison Goodman shortly after Eon's release and got my copy of Eon signed. I want to continue this series. I find it really interesting. It's a fantasy series and we've got a girl pretending to be a boy, which is always a good trope that I enjoy reading about. So in this story we have a 12-year-old boy called Eon, and it is described as having swordplay, dragon magic, and a hero with a desperate secret to keep. Eon has been in training for many years. He's hoping to be selected as a Dragonite and be apprenticed to one of the 12 energy dragons of good fortune. But the big secret is that Eon is actually Iona and a girl. So that is the secret that we are going into the first book knowing that Eon is actually a girl and her trying to navigate in this world with this huge secret. So it was quite an interesting concept. I did rate it 4 stars. So yeah, I did break my ban to get the sequel because I kept seeing it everywhere and I thought, okay, I've seen it in a secondhand shop, it's a bit cheaper, so we're gonna pick up a copy. And I donated 2 books, which is how I am penalizing myself for breaking my buying ban. That is the penalty that I've taken for acquiring this book. So the slate is clean and all dues have been paid. The next book I got was also from that secondhand bookstore, and it's one I've already read, and it's actually Finnegan of the Rock by Melina Marchetta. I don't know how to say it. So Finnegan of the Rock is about Finnegan and Sir Topher, and they've not been home to their home kingdom of Lumitere for 10 years. Ever since the royal family were murdered, the kingdom has been under this terrible curse. But then they meet this girl called Evangeline who has a big claim that the heir to the throne of Lumitere is actually still alive. So it becomes this big quest of them to try and find the heir to the throne and put wrongs to right. Now I read this by audiobook several years ago. I liked it, I didn't love it. I really hated the narrator, and it was probably one of the books that really pushed me into becoming quite fussy about which narrators I do listen to. And I have Froy of the Exiles, which is the second book. So Froy of the Exiles is huge. It is significantly bigger than Finnegan of the Rock, but I really want to continue the series. I have to say I was absolutely like gobsmacked to see how much bigger this is. But I own book 2, which was actually donated to me by a friend. I saw book 1 and I thought, you know what, let's complete the collection. So I've done that, so I now have book 1 and 2, and hopefully one day I will actually read Froy of the Exiles and hopefully I will enjoy it. The last book I hauled from that secondhand bookstore was A Behemoth by Scott Westerfield. Now this is the sequel to Leviathan. I cannot be bothered going and getting my copy of it, but I saw it in this tall hardback edition and I just knew I had to pick it up. It's not adding to my TBR because I haven't read book 1 yet, and I don't add sequels onto my TBR until I read the the first book, so that is the loophole I have chosen to get around and buy this one with. But yeah, I saw that this would be a matching copy to the edition I've got, so of course I had to pick it up because I don't even know if you can get this size anymore, and you certainly can't get it for as cheap as I got it, so I'm pretty excited to have matchy sets in this. So this series, I believe, is actually a steampunk sort of reimagining of World War II. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it is. We have Prince Alexander, who is the would-be heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, but he's on the run because his own people have turned against him. Then we have this brilliant airman who is actually a woman in disguise, a woman proposing as a man who is going to come to Alexander's rescue is my bet. World War I, I'm wrong, not World War II, so this is in the backdrop of World War I brewing, and the two characters' paths cross, and it's going to take them on a fantastical around the world adventure, so I'm really excited to read this one day, but yes, very pleased to have book 2 to continue the journey with. Also, these books have stunning maps in them. So this is the colour map on the inside of these. They're just absolutely gorgeous. There's so much, I just love that it's a coloured map. It's beautiful. It really is stunning. So now we can open the first package that I've got here, which I believe is just going to have one book inside. I've already opened these just to save me the struggle. And so inside of this one, we have A Funny Life by Michael McIntyre. Now this was sent to me by Pam at Millen, and I'm thrilled about this. This actually arrived like a matter of hours ago. So I love Michael McIntyre. I think he's absolutely hilarious. He's a British comedian if you've somehow not heard of him. And I really wanted to read this, so I was thrilled to be sent a copy of it. This came out at the beginning of October, so this is available for you to purchase now. I'm expecting good things. I'm expecting many laughs. Comedian memoirs are always golden, so fingers crossed I love this as much as I'm hoping to. Next we have this box, which is a mixed match sort of acquirement of things from Harlequin. So inside I've got two books to show you. The first one is The Fossil Hunter by Tia Cooper, and the second one is Unforgiven by Sarah Barr. So this one is not coming out until December, and this is going to be obviously a thriller. I'm still not decided if I'm going to read this one. I didn't request this one, it was just sent to me, but it looks really scary, and I haven't actually read the blurb, so let's read it together. So we've got a character who is street smart and has stood on her own 2 feet since childhood when she was victim of a notorious paedophile, the Spider. Already sounds quite horrible. Now all she cares about is keeping a roof over her head and her long-term relationship with this guy, but she's not fussy who she sleeps with as long as they pay before leaving. So we've definitely got a rough and tumble sort of vibe going on with this book. She's also a hacker, and she's trained in entrapping local paedophiles and reporting them to the cops. So that's very fitting with the backstory that we know. So yeah, that's kind of the vibes that we're going with that book. I probably will try and have a read of this, but I have to say I'm a little bit hesitant. It does sound like it might be a little bit of a spooky read, and the themes are quite dark, so we'll see how I go with this one. The other book, The Fossil Hunter, I'm really excited for. This is going to be the November pick of the month for the Harlequin Book Club, the book stack, which I will link below. I'm sure I will remember this time, though I do not think I have remembered thus far. This one is set in the mid-19th century in Hunter Valley, and it's going to cross over finding an artifact in the Natural History Museum in London with Australian history, and it's going to bring it back in time, I think. Yes, 2 timelines, 1847 and 1919, and so I imagine we're going to get a bit of a history of the artifacts that is discovered or looked at, researched into in the British History Museum in later timelines. So I am so excited about reading this. This is definitely up my alley, and I love these kind of stories. Yeah, this is very reminiscent of Geraldine Brooks' The People of the Book. If you've read that one, that's what I'm getting from this. So yeah, looking forward to reading this one and discussing it with the book club. And then the final one I have to show you is actually an order from the book grocer. So this one was a little bit naughty, but again, none of these actually broke my book buying ban, so I'm doing a really good job of evading that. So there are a few books in here. I think there are maybe 3 or 4. So let's have a look at what I got. We've got The Rose Code by Kate Quinn, Tyrant's Law by Daniel Abraham, and the illustrated edition of Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin. So we'll start with this one. I got this because this was significantly discounted. This is about a 70 Australian dollar book, full price, and it was going for 20 on the book grocer. It does have a little line on the bottom to say whatever it means, that they can't sell it at full price, but that doesn't bother me. I'm never gonna see it. Plus maybe I'll spray its edges one day and then you really won't be able to tell. This is gorgeous, and I've read Game of Thrones, but this is filled with lots of lovely illustrations like this. So we've also got coloured illustrations like this one printed on the shiny paper. So I would love to reread this. Oh yes, and a coloured map at the beginning. This is a book full of coloured maps. So yeah, I would love to reread this in this edition, but I couldn't say no to this one. It's so pretty, and I'm going to love having this on my bookshelf, so big thumbs up there. Now, The Tyrant's Law is actually book 3 in a 5-book series. When I ordered one of the mystery boxes from the book grocer earlier in the year, I got book 1 and 5 in this series, and they had this one that went up for sale on their website, so I thought, I'm pretty sure I'm going to like this series going off friends' reviews of it, but I am taking a punt here and hoping that I'm going to like it, and I got book 3, because the other 2 I've got are also in this tall edition, which usually you can't get too easily once you're well past publication dates. So I now have books 1, 3 and 5, and again, because I haven't read book 1, this hasn't added to the TBR yet, so we are still in the clear. Plus I need book 2 and 4, but it's a work in progress. The first book in the series is called The Dragon's Path, and it's sort of like a medieval fantasy from my understanding. And of course the final book is The Rose Code by Kate Quinn. I've already read this. This is a huge historical fiction. It's really hefty. It's over 600 pages, but I loved this book. This is one of my favourite reads of this year so far, and obviously I did it by audiobook, so I really wanted to have a physical copy of it. So when I saw that the book grocer had a copy going, I snatched that up so that I can proudly display it on my bookshelf. So these are all of the books that I've acquired since the last time we had a chat. What can I say? You shouldn't realistically see another book haul from me until December, but with the rate that I am somehow collecting books, who knows, maybe I will see you again with another book haul in November. We will just have to stay tuned to find out. Let me know in the comments down below if you're planning on reading any of these or if you've read any of them, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye.